Welcome back to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast series. Welcome back to the audio podcast or the YouTube series if you joined us today. Today I'm joined by Joseph Rubelli, a digital content creator, a marketing expert, and also the host of a Cup of Joe podcast and TV series. Now, Joseph is someone I've been watching the last few months, and his content, his videos, and his flavor and his style on Instagram is something that's caught my eye, and it's amazing to see what he's doing. He's got a massive Instagram following. I think it's about 45,000 followers. His engagement level on his posts are through the roof. We just spoke about it off air, that some of his small clips get anywhere between 4,000, 6,000 to 8,000 views on a post. And it's something that's amazing to see by keeping true to himself and adding his flavor that is true to himself to show out in the market that if you're honest, true, and you stand behind your message, you'll get a success. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on your show because I listen to it all the time, and I watch you on YouTube as well. So I was really excited about this. Thank you.
That's awesome. It's sometimes it's really nice getting someone on the show that's seen a bit of the content and what I'm trying to do as well. And like I said, Joseph's got his own podcast series, which is now produced, and he's pushing over to a YouTube series channel as well about giving content away, how to grow. And I mean, one of the latest videos you did at the moment, and it's one of the sort of the biggest questions in anyone in the social media world, is hashtags. What is happening in the hashtag world? How do we understand it? How do we change it? And it's something, it's so challenging to anyone in the content media space or social media space, because depending on which platform you go onto it, it evolves every couple of months, every couple of weeks, and every couple of days, right? And if you go from LinkedIn to Instagram, the same hashtags can't be used across both platforms. So I find it quite a challenging space to be into. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, hashtag took me around probably 3 years to work out how they work. Yeah. And what's the best way to do that. And, as you said, they do change each and every day. So it is really challenging. I always say to people, just keep watching what I post about hashtags, because my video could be not relatable to from a month from now, you might not be working as you should work, because they change all the time. So yeah, hashtag has been a huge request from my audience. They asked me a lot of content about it. So the way I did it right now, I did some what I call content strategy slides, which you can find on my Instagram at Joseph Rubelli. And this is where you have all my slides where you can learn and kind of have more of a visual learning page. And then you have the videos on YouTube on a Cup of Joe TV, which I dive into the topic a little bit more. And I will be having a whole session of hashtag strategy that you can download from my email list super soon, which will be even more updated. Yes. So, so I kind of try to repurpose the content in a way that is more updated and, up to date, if you will, through the algorithm changes of Instagram craziness. But yeah, as you said, it's true, because it goes differently from each and every platform. So TikTok works differently from Instagram and as well as LinkedIn. So it's all crazy. Yeah.
I know I was talking to some of the people in our network circles. Funny enough, some people that's actually in both our network circles, as we got some friends within the social media world. And just for a second, and anyone that's watching the video, my head is turning because I got a goddamn fucking fly that is landing on my forehead every time I'm trying to say a word at the moment. I'm like, and I want to smack it. So excuse anyone that's watching me and seeing my head turning the whole time. This thing's going to get a smack. But anyway, so I get back to.
I thought it was me putting my hands in front of my mouth and you couldn't hear me, because it's like, okay, maybe I don't have to do
it. This is what happens when you record a podcast. So it's raw. Sitting here, it's the first time it's happened to me. There's a stupid bug flying around me. But anyway, let's get back to it. So talking about having people within our networks and talking about the challenges and so forth about hashtag and understanding how to build content. And, sometimes you go and say, okay, I'm going to use something that's very popular on social media. So irrespective of if it's hashtagging or a style, I'm going to use something that's very popular. But people don't realize as well and forget about it sometimes, even though it could be popular, if you're not big enough or you don't have enough following behind you, it doesn't make a difference anyway. You've got to be able to you've got to sort of knock on the door, but be able to knock on the door loud enough that everyone that's sitting behind it can actually hear, because I can do the exact same thing with my following, which is about 1% of what Joseph's following is, and we'll get totally different results because of the level of engagement of people back.
but that's the exciting part of it as well. I think people focus too much on the metrics.
Yep.
And, I've been having a growth which has been really quick throughout 2 years. And I've been lucky because I think part of my growth started when I was working as an influencer, because I was doing more influencer collaboration. I was doing loads of content creation for brands. And that's how, I come from a corporate background. I used to work for a beauty brand, and I used to be in charge of business development and account management for UK and Middle East because I am based in London. And, I used to open new opportunity for the company I was working for in 2 different markets. And my background is in marketing as well as sales. So obviously sales is the kind of end side of marketing. It's like you do marketing correctly in line to sales. So coming from sale and going backwards, if you will, it's kind of a reverse engineer, because you need to understand sales is people come to you because they have a problem and they want to buy something to solve it. I always say when it comes to sales, there is I have 3 steps to explain it to my clients. And it's like people don't know that they have a problem and they don't know how to solve it. And that's step 1 for you. Then you have step 2, which is people, they know they have a problem, but they don't know how to solve it. And step 3 is people, they know they have a problem, they know how to solve it, but they don't know who to buy it from. And this is where marketing works. And it's kind of like, marketing makes you understand what options you have when it comes to the problem that you're trying to solve. And marketing helps you to really sometimes understand that you might not know that you needed this. And this is exactly the same with social media. Social media, people think it's kind of like another place to advertise your promotion. But that's your e-commerce for you. You don't really want to advertise. Of course, you advertise what you sell it on social media, and that's obvious. But you don't want to just advertise, because people will feel like they're just being pushed with lots of spam and sold. Exactly. So you kind of want to do the storytelling side, which is kind of my expertise. I am a business coach focused on social media and personal branding. So obviously, I did all of it myself before, because coming from a corporate background and then going into content creation and become an influencer was kind of crazy, because my job before allowed me to connect with lots of influencers and to really understand how this whole influencer thing works. And I was just like, I love fashion, I love photography, and I love traveling. And I think this is something that I could really do as a job. But where do I start? How does it work? I mean, do I really have to show everything? I'm not really comfortable to do that. And, it worked until a certain extent, because I picked my niche, which was travel, because I always love traveling. And I was doing lots of content when I was traveling. And it wasn't really with the purpose to just put it on Instagram. It's just because I generally like photography and videography. It's always something that I've been doing ever since I was a teenager. And, I come from a teenager time where there was no social media. So obviously that's different now. And I am really grateful that I didn't have social media at the time, because I think now it's a little out of hand, especially I actually do a mentorship in a school to teach to teenagers how to use social media strategically and properly to not kind of affect your self-esteem, which is something that I really care about, because I'm all about working against cyberbullying, because I think it's a huge problem, especially for the new generation. And, when it comes to content creation, I built my community because I was posting lots of travel in Europe, and my audience is mainly in the US. And I have lots of people in Australia, quite a few people in Turkey and Middle East as well, obviously, because of my previous job. So I have a little bit in the UK, but not much. In the UK, the influencer marketing strategy in business is not really understood, and it's not really taken to the degree that it should be. And they think that you have to be off of a reality show to be an influencer. So I just decided to not associate myself to that, because I'm not like that. I am someone that I love doing good content and really kind of create something that is purposeful. And this is where I decided to actually practice what I preach, in the sense that I decided to teach to new entrepreneurs, new content creators, new coaches, how to really up-level their businesses online, how to really come from a place of clarity when it comes to social media, because it is really overwhelming and it constantly is changing, as we mentioned before. And it is one of those places that you have to kind of have your head for it. It's not for everybody.
Yep.
And not everybody, and this is something I want to say, people feel, I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and it was like, but you need to show everything. Well, working on social media doesn't mean that you have to show your whole life, because guess what? People are not actually interested about that. They are interested on the problem that you have to solve. And if showing your life makes you more real, that's great. I mean, I am very comfortable in front of a camera when I speak on stories. I tend to do not many stories throughout the day, but stories that are meaningful. So I would pick a topic throughout the day and kind of,
focus around that for the day.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't show how my house is right now that I'm moving to the US, which is a total mess. Or I don't show that I'm sleeping on the floor for the last 10 days because I don't have a bed anymore, because people don't care about that, right? So it's kind of like you want to show something that is relatable to who follows you. And who follows you, you are the only person that knows.
Yeah.
So sometimes people say to me, okay, but what do I need to post? And I'm like, well, I don't know who your audience is. We can work out together where yours is from, what they like. And sometimes I feel like people don't really ask very much to people. And I had a conversation with one of my clients yesterday, and he has a YouTube channel with over 3,000 subscribers, which is pretty good.
Yep.
So he was like, I said to him, you have a great channel, you have the subscribers, but you don't have the structure. I said, what do you mean? I said, you never ask your subscriber to subscribe, essentially. You don't never ask for a call to action to say to comment below, to reshare it. And his answer was like, well, but they never do it. And I was like, yeah, but because you don't ask them. It's like, and there is the 7 points rule, which I wanted to share with you today. And it's basically about saying and repurposing the same message 7 times before people even take an action on it. And this is something that is coming up for me when it comes to content creation. People expect to sell on Instagram stories straight away, to kind of have that quick snap of a finger. I mean, it is social media, but it's not a miracle.
So with those 7 steps, is that across the same platform, or is it across multiple platforms but the same message, so the audience hears it in different places? Or do you go 7 different ways or continuous ways, for example, just across Instagram, and you keep dropping that one-liner and going call to action, call to action, call to action? Or do you do it a few times across Instagram, a few times across YouTube in that package of 7 that you spoke about?
That is actually a very good question, because this is something that I feel is really important to share. Now, each and every one of us learn in different ways, right? So you might be someone really into YouTube, and you will have to fix a furniture in your house. You will go to a how-to video on YouTube and you look at video and then you learn. And that's one way of learning. Or you might go to a blog and read about it. Or you might go on Instagram, look for the hashtag and kind of look for a solution there on an IGTV or something. So when I started YouTube a couple of weeks ago, I decided, I was just like, well, loads of the topics I'm going to be talking about, I already covered them on YouTube. So I kind of started to have a little bit of a limiting belief myself and say, maybe my community will be bored, or maybe they've already seen that. And then I kind of switched my mindset and I said, well, actually, this is a different perspective, because I'm diving into the topic even more. And people might not really understand it on a visual picture, but they might understand it on a video. Correct. And guess what? People on YouTube are not your audience yet, because they might not be on Instagram. So what I mean by that, you can repurpose the same content in different ways, and you can kind of show a different perspective on it in different platforms. So for example, let's say on Instagram is a very visual place, right?
Correct.
Which is why I always say to people, you can't build a following based on motivational quotes. It's not going to work because people want to see a face. It's a visual place. It was originally started to be kind of a photo album. This is why obviously anything that has a person in it, it's more relatable, which is why every single content strategy slide that I post, my first slide is always with a picture of me, because I don't do that because I'm full of myself. I do it because I know that content will be more personal to the person. And, you know, it's kind of like on YouTube is the same, right? YouTube is kind of a fast place. You don't want the video to be too long. I see video of an hour, and I don't know about you, I don't watch an hour on YouTube. I don't have time. So I try to keep it, because people then lose the point. And, you know, and my audience on my podcast is not my audience on Instagram, and my audience on Instagram is not my audience on YouTube. And this is the great part of it, because of course there is some driving from one another. Traffic driving is important. And obviously I have quite a big following on Instagram, and the conversion on YouTube is not as much as you think it might be, because it's different. And the problem with Instagram, with any social media, they never gonna make driving traffic from a platform to another one easy for you, because their whole job is to keep you in the platform as much as they can. And this is why they came out with a GTV. A GTV works really well if you're someone that wants to do a series of training about something or a tutorial about something. A GTV is kind of following the same pattern that YouTube follow at the very beginning. And this is where, you know, there was a very interesting article about this, and they're going to start to monetize GTV super soon. And this is huge.
Because they're going to try, they're going to try and keep everyone in Instagram. So at the moment is obviously there's the straight competitive, but there was, you know, from everything you're saying at the moment, there's a couple of pointers I just want to bring back to. And you're saying, and to anyone that's listening at the moment, and this is true in social media or in business, we're talking about Instagram at the moment and YouTube. So Joseph's got a massive following on the Instagram. Like I said, it could be 40, 45,000 followers around that space as well. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to have the same amount of following when he goes into YouTube, and it's going to be the exact same people, right? So as much as you've got a successful niche in business in this space, when you go to another area, it doesn't mean they're actually going to draw across, because the people that are using Instagram might not be the people that are using YouTube. And we've got to remember that when we are building the content or we're pushing the content, that we can't push a single vanilla flavor across multiple platforms that are going to have different customers. On YouTube, depending on how all your videos are trending, you might just be seen by randomly scrolling on the side, and it pops up on the side compared to on Instagram and using on the hashtags. So you have that whole different flavor. And YouTube, as anyone that knows with YouTube, you go down a deep, dark hole. You go to YouTube for a how-to video, and 2 hours later, you're watching fucking cat videos. It's just it's a typical world of YouTube, right? Instagram, not as much. Not as much as I find myself not going down a hole as much with Instagram. I think it's more, you find yourself more closer to your niche space, but YouTube has it. So that's why sometimes you totally get a different audience and crowd, because someone found your video starting 2 hours beforehand in a total different niche in that. So it's something we've got to realize and understand when we're delivering that across the business.
Although I have to say, you can really go into a scrolling hole on Instagram. You end up scrolling for an hour and you don't realize you do that, which is why I decided to actually create a little tutorial how to spend your time effectively on social media. And you can find it on my page, and I will do a YouTube video about it as well. Because you really want to go into a place where you create before you consume. Social media, as you said, YouTube is the place where you end up going into a playlist of a channel, and watch thousands of video of it. And the difference between YouTube and Instagram, YouTube is not actually a social media. YouTube is a search engine optimization, because obviously it's owned by Google. And because it's owned by Google, you normally will go to YouTube as a way to, again, we go back to repurposing content, which is when you go on Google to look for something, and then they will give you a YouTube channel, because you might be someone, based on the algorithm, on the way you operate on the platform, they will show you that actually you are more likely to watch a video than read a blog. So it's the same point for that. And I think you go into this process of just looking at content and looking at content and looking at content. And then you feel drained, you feel burnout, you feel so overwhelmed, and the comparison moment starts, because you say, okay, this person has over 1 million followers, I have like 600. Why this is not working.
Yep.
How am I better than this person is?
Mm-hmm.
Or where my content is going to be fine compared to this person that has such a following. And social media is all about comparison, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this is where you want to be clever with it, because you really want to go into the scrolling moment just when you feel like you are mentally ready for it. And that is not every day. We are not mentally prepared every day to just consume content. I believe that. I don't do content scrolling very often. I just do it maybe
especially depending on what your niche is as well. So as you're saying, going through, if I'm coming through and I follow people that are traveling and so forth, and I've got a strong will, I can do that. But if I'm following people because I want to travel, and I'm stuck at home on a shitty job with shitty pay, as Joseph was saying, and I scroll through for hours and hours of, guys hiring Ferraris and sitting on the beach to look cool, and people hiring hotel rooms and so forth, and putting up sometimes real photos, but majority of the time, unfortunately, in a lot of that industry, fake photos. It's not going to make me feel good or better about myself, because it might give me a bit of a motivation, but a lot of people struggle with it because they're going, how do I get there? How do I live? I'm living my life through their photos, and it pushes that boundary sometimes.
It's like I call them talking about who you follow.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very interesting point on here, because you can follow content creator because you love what they do as a content, but you can follow what I call life casters, people that you follow just because they have an amazing life. And you're not going to get that life straight away, but you just dream about it. And this is what affects your mental health, in my opinion, because social media definitely makes you compare yourself more, even if you are not someone that compares yourself very often, but on social media, you will go into that mindset. Or it gives you anxiety if it's related to your business, because you see people going on and on and on and on, and you are like perhaps stuck to not get the engagement that you would like to get, or you don't get the amount of likes that you would like to get, or you don't get the clients that you would like to get. So it really is a matter of balance and kind of learning. And I did such a huge work on myself in the last year on working on how much time I spend on social media. And I tend to really be careful about that right now. Sometimes I cancel the app for 2 days. I do. Yeah. And by the way, guys, you need to try it, especially if your Instagram doesn't work, just cancel the app and re-put it again. Because like my Instagram, I don't know yours, but my one doesn't make me do more than 3 stories right now, which is really annoying because I already speak a lot and I cannot fix it in 3 stories. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, there's definitely some catches I've seen lately with it. I don't know if I need to do the same with mine, just loading up some content and it just doesn't like it and shits itself. So it's like, okay, let's restart.
But the best one is when I post a picture, it disappears and then it comes back. That was the best thing that happened to me. That was like, I think a month ago. There was this particular content strategy that I was posting. It was about email marketing. I was teaching email marketing. And it will not go. Like literally, Instagram will not allow. I would get 20 likes, which is fine, because my audience tends to pick up my content later on, because I obviously am based in the UK and they are mostly based in the US. So that's normal. And then the picture would disappear. And then I will post, tap here on my story, where people can drive traffic into my feed. And they were like, oh, but there's no pictures. So I know, what can I do about it? So yeah, it's crazy. But, talking about driving traffic from a platform to the other, as we mentioned before, where you are, expecting to get the same audience to come from Instagram. This is something that really, really shocked me when I came out of Instagram the first time. When I launched my podcast last year, Capo Joe, I was expecting loads of people to go into the podcast straight away from Instagram. But actually, I realized that there was so much more work to do, because there was all the SEO to really get in place and get people to find your podcast. And it isn't really automatic as I thought it was going to be, because anything that but I was really excited about that because I was like, yes, this is something different.
Yeah.
And now I don't have the fear of starting a new platform anymore like I used to. Because, you are in your comfort zone on Instagram. You have your audience, people like you, people like what you do. And as soon as you go out, you need to start all over again.
Yeah.
And last year, after doing lots of research, I was like, actually, more than 10% of my community goes on my podcast. And that actually is not bad.
Yeah.
So, and then I started to build a new community there, which was great. And I really advise everyone to not get stuck too much on the numbers, because the numbers don't really mean anything, especially in this day and age. Instagram algorithm is really promoting human conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Really? So like, it's kind of like they are promoting all the content, the people that will go into a proper conversation. Like, we don't want to see emoji or like, love this, you're awesome, and maybe you have a picture where you just post a quote. And you know what I mean? All this automation drives me nuts. But when you post a sticker on story.
Yeah, so pretty much on Instagram at the moment, for anyone around that, it's just as a little hack. It's, if you want to make it that the comments that you're doing or the people that are driving the comments to you are anything that's more than 6 words, is what Instagram recognizes an actual message or communication. Anything less than 6 words, Instagram starts squandering. If it's a bot, driven by bots, because a lot of those channels or services that you can buy that does comments and likes for you, there's not that many left, because Instagram has shut a lot of them down, but they'll come in and they do 2 or 3 word, hey, this is awesome, love it, like it, emojis and stuff, and that's where Instagram recognizes as bots. So if you've got a friend out there that the whole time gives you just a thumbs up or an emoji, he's actually hurting your brand more than benefiting your brand in that sense.
Yeah. And this is, brings me to a point that I think lots of people, this is something I ask to my clients all the time when we start working together on coaching. And I was like, I want to grow my social media. Awesome. Why? Is it because you are building a personal brand? Is it because you have a business around the corner that you're thinking to launch, so you want to kind of build an audience for then selling it? Or is it just for your ego? Mm-hmm. Which is absolutely fine. Yep. I mean, it's not an issue. People want to feel better about themselves. There's nothing wrong about that. However, it's really about where this is going, right? Mm-hmm. And when people start on a business, especially online these days, it's kind of like this is what I try to walk my clients through. And it's like, start the reverse engineer. Think about the end result, mm-hmm. and then go backwards in the way to achieve it.
Yep.
So think about what do you want to get to, and then use the strategy and the tools that we have in this day and age, which are so many, to really get to that goal. It is about creating a business. Is it about building a community? Is it about building a community that then could link to a business? Correct. And, I teach all of it, but it's really about getting the right mindsets and the right frame to it, because I feel like lots of time we get our ego to go against our business model.
Correct, and that's where a lot of times to anyone as well, is that's where a mentor comes in. That's where, so a lot of times most of the people that I've had on my show, even like Joseph himself, has got customers and helps with content media. That's where you go and you speak to someone that actually mentors you through the process, because I have to have mentors. I speak to mentors themselves, and I try to mentor other people as well, because as you said, sometimes your emotions come in and you need someone on the outside and going, hey, pull your head in. It's enough of that shit. That emotion is not going to be successful for your brand. It's actually going to be detrimental. This is the way to follow as the correct strategy and the best model for what your niche is. And just having to pay attention to it. And it's a challenge everyone goes through. And I enjoy what you said at the moment about asking people up front why they're doing what they're doing. And then obviously trying to keep someone honest to it, irrespective of what it is. If someone says, hey, I want to start an Instagram and I want to become Instagram famous because I want to look like I'm cool, so be it. That's what they want to do. But at least have that understanding why you want to do what you want to do, and then it drives everything else that's behind it.
That's a hard one, because I find lots of people have this issue. Like, they feel... I always say to people, if you want to become famous, go to a reality TV show. Don't go on Instagram. It's just quicker.
Yeah.
It's just quicker. You go on TV, you get a blue tick, it's fine. You get money afterwards. It's great. It's a strategy. Yeah. Lots of people do that. And, you know, for example, let's say you're someone that wants to launch a business, but you want to do it as a personal brand. So you want to be famous in a way that you want to be famous for yourself. And then you want the business to sell. Lots of people go to The Apprentice, which I don't know if you have in your country, but I think you do. And it's like this program where you have entrepreneurs with a business idea and then they get financed by a huge investor. And you know, that still is a strategy. Like lots of people do that, and that's fine. But also, can I just say, it is absolutely normal, guys, to feel crap about yourself when you are on Instagram, because it's full of rubbish.
Yep.
It is. It is full of rubbish. And you know the reason why it's full of rubbish? Because it's a free platform.
Yep. So
anything free, it's just the way it works. And also it's really interesting to me because I was in radio a couple of weeks ago, and we talk about Instagram and the way Instagram company talk about themselves on media. And if you look into Instagram, the way they do their press, they never really share the bad side of internet. They always say everything else around is rubbish, but if you come to Instagram, it's the happy place. Yeah. Everyone is everyone is perfect, everyone is nice, everything is polished, everything is pink, everything is like super filtered and super nice. And that's the visual side of it. But then, you know, for me, it's mind-blowing that there isn't a functionality, I think, to this day and age where Instagram algorithm tracks offense and racism into your platform. Because homophobic people come to my content and they say whatever. I got said that I need to get killed. I got said all sorts of it. And we can talk about haters as well in a second. And, you know, I am a very strong personality and I have a very thick skin on these things. I take anything. Yep. I actually find it quite amusing when people come to my page and need to kind of give me hate for the day. I find it quite hilarious because then I reply by the right tone. And like, because my crazy marketing mind thinks, another comment, another engagement, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm thinking the exact same thing as you were saying. I'm going, well, the guys are going to come and ramble, make it over 5 different comments because that increases the engagement, right? By all means, and then each one I'm just going to go back and wind him up and let him come back because every single one helps the algorithm.
So funny. There was one on I think it was a month ago. He was like, very nice how posting something about your personal life. Nobody cares about you. And I was like, you're right. And you know what? I actually have an affiliate program for if you feel like you're not confident with yourself, you're more than welcome to go on my story. Swipe up. So if you feel like nobody cares about you, there is actually a course for this. So you can actually swipe up and get the free trial to help you.
trying to close a sale.
Yeah, it's kind of like taking it to the extreme, like I'm joking now. But, you know, I understand. And this is why I said earlier, I wish not, I feel really grateful that I didn't have social media when I was growing up, because I feel like now kids having such a tougher life compared to us in the past. Because, you know, it's the bullying side of it. It's you will go to school, somebody will bully you, but then you will go home and you will be loved and you will be fine.
Yep.
Now you go on Instagram and the bullies carry on. And this is just unacceptable. And I think it's just like, I feel like for example, a friend of mine, she's a blogger and she's been doing it for 10 years. So not 2 days, she's been doing it for 10 years. So she started before everybody else started. There was no social media at the time. She started with a blog where she talked about moms and how she really find maternity not as pleasant as people say, which is a great thing. Yep. And, you know, the brand that she developed turned into this lifestyle brand about moms. But the great exciting thing about it is that she works with lots of companies that produce toys, but she never show her kid ever. So everybody knows that she has a daughter. Yep. Everybody knows that the daughter comes in the video, but she's always on her back, so you never see her. Or she will hear the voice, but you would not see the face or anything. And we did a podcast together, and I said, she came on my podcast, and I said, you build a brand for kids without showing yours. That's genius. And this is coming back to the point, you don't need to show everything, right? And there is a very famous influencer in my country. She has a huge following, I think 17 million. And she showed so much about her kid, which it's her own choice. But then I've been asked about it in a podcast. If you have a kid, would you show everything? And I said, I want my kid to have a childhood which is normal. I don't want it to become a Truman Show.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember Truman Show,
Yeah, totally.
movie, and
I still watch it quite often. So it is so relatable.
It's so relatable to this day and age. And, there was no social media at the time, but it's really crazy to me how, a movie that was done, 20 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is so relatable to now, and how really people are starting to get into this Truman Show rabbit hole thing.
Yep.
Crazy. But yeah, no, it's really interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely it's such an interesting space. Everything we said in the last. I mean, it's been over half an hour already, 35 minutes going in, about the social media space and the following and which way you go down. There's no right or wrong way. Okay, there's a right way if you want to grow it successfully, correct, over a wrong way. But there's no right or wrong way how to use a social media platform. Just fundamentally, don't be an idiot, don't be a dick, and don't be fucking filled with hate. That's the only sort of shit. Leave that shit behind. Otherwise, go out there and, share what you want to share and say what you want to have a say on the platform. But again, it's as we speak to different people and as I speak to different people on social media, and like Joseph, everyone has their different ways and says of how to do it and so forth. And it's trying to find that, what is the right way for yourself or what is the right way to follow. And just fundamentally, I think Joseph said it on a lot of his content before, and on an article he just published, it came out, I think in September. Yeah, it was on an online article about stay true to yourself about what you're doing. Don't give in to the pressures and so forth of everything else.
Do you know what is really coming up for me on this conversation? It's really about have a double think when you post something and think about how this message get received on the other side. So if you are the user that is consuming your content, what would you like these users to think about you? What would you like this user to get away from your information? It's all about delivering in the right way. Like a very simple example, in Europe at the moment, there is a huge case of coronavirus, right? So coronavirus is a huge problem. I am Italian. My family is based in Venice, which is one of the biggest region where it's been affected. At the moment, the region is locked down. You can't go. I can't see my family before I move to America because I can't travel. And the UK is really this next big thing at the moment because it's growing so quickly. But what I'm coming from here, it's people came to my Instagram story and say, you never talk about coronavirus. You never share anything about coronavirus. How can you not share anything that is so relatable? You know what my answer was? I was like, I am not skilled, educated, and knowledgeable enough to talk about something that is so, dangerous and such a big topic right now. I can tell you my own experience, like the fact that I went to the supermarket, there was no soap. This is about I can say. And it's true, like it's crazy. But I think I said to them, you know what, I really invite you. And this is what I think when people like me or you work online, we have a responsibility of what we talk about. I really truly believe. It doesn't matter if you have a following of 600 people or 60,000. You still have a responsibility of the message that you're trying to send. And I said, I sent a DM and I said, I'm not the right person to talk about that because I don't have the right knowledge. However, I link you here, the website where you can get all the information that you need to really get all the knowledge that you deserve to have. And that doesn't have to come from an influencer. I'm sorry. Like we need to kind of think about and be realistic to ourselves. If I was a doctor, that's a different story, but I'm not. And I know quite a lot about the coronavirus because I read quite a lot. I try to be a very informative person. I try to really read I read a lot in general, but I don't feel I have the knowledge to the degree that I should to be talking about it. And this is the problem where people should stop sometimes. And it's like, you don't know anything about this. Why are you sharing this? You are delivering. There isn't bad news as a fake news, and this is why I don't have Twitter. I actually don't have Twitter. And it's like, for me, everybody is entitled to their own opinion and it's fine. but we really need to think about who is reading our opinion sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's just really important to be careful who you post, because you don't know who you're going to offend. You don't know. And, I live in a society right here where everyone is super keen to not be racist or be homophobic or be too political. And I have my own opinion about politics and stuff, but I don't think Instagram is the right place to share them, because my audience probably come to me to get marketing tips, not really get political view. And, it is a conflict, because people feel like, oh, you're not being real if you don't share your opinion. I think the takeaway here, I am not being biased. I try to be very impartial, which when you have a community, you really want to be. Because you might have someone that follow you because they like what you do. But as soon as you say something political, you might offend them.
Yep, totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. And I can definitely say, from following your brand and everything else, that is so true to yourself, that you give quality and insights, and it's never left way, right way, irrespective of what your opinion is on anything. It's straight down the line, straight down the middle, which is great. I think, as we just said before, we're going on 40 minutes deep diving into the Instagram and content world. And I think we'll end off there for listeners today. But before we do that, because I know our listeners are going to go, geez, shit, that's a lot of content we've got to work our way through. Is, Joseph, what is sort of 1 or 2 points you want to leave the audience with today to think about over the next few days? It doesn't have to be on the social media world. It can just be in life itself. What do you want to leave them with?
So I think, to really link to what we discussed today, I think the whole point is really define your purpose when you're thinking of creating content online. And that is related to either you want it to be personal or either you want it to be business based. So think about your purpose, where this is going, and think about the way you are delivering your message, and also have a double thought on how your user is going to get that message. And if there is the way, I think the biggest takeaway here to make it easier is think about the language of your audience and speak to them in the language they would like to be spoken to.
Oh, I love that. That's a great point of making sure you're paying attention to what they want to receive and give them that actually what they need, not what you perceive they need. And it's a mistake a lot of people make these days. But before we get to the end, Joseph, as always, I ask, can you let our listeners know where they can find you on social media and your handles, please?
Yeah. So you can find me at Joseph Rubelli on Instagram. So my name is JosepHrubelli, and it will be on the description box, I'm assuming. Yep. And then you can find my podcast, A Capo Joe Podcast, on Spotify and iTunes and SoundCloud. And you can find me on YouTube over on A Capo Joe TV. So if you are someone interested in marketing and branding, the podcast is the right place for you, as I have lots of guests sharing knowledge and wisdom. If you are interested on social media and you want to leverage your brand and business aligned, this is why you need to go on YouTube, because this is where I teach social media and I dive into each and every platform and how you can use it strategically. So this is where you can find me.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, Joseph. And to everyone else that came to the show today, I hope you enjoyed the audio podcast or the YouTube series. And as I always say through every episode, and it's not just to repeat myself, but it's to put it out there. So I never charge anything. I never ask anything, but if you took something away from today's episode, that it was insightful to your brand, to what you're trying to achieve, go and tell someone else and say, come on and listen to the top entrepreneurs in the game, giving away their trade secrets and telling you what you can do to improve yourself, your life, and what you're trying to achieve. But at the end of the day, have a beautiful and powerful day, and we'll chat to you later.